Today we're going to be talking about healing tip number 4, and it's all about boundary setting. I've been talking with a lot of women lately who have been struggling because they're hooked into this idea that they can't let go of their ex-partners or the partners who clearly, in their mind, are not good for them. And it's like an addictive drug, right? That's what sexual energy can do. It can totally create a sort of addictive personality type when there is some sort of reward that you're getting, but on one hand it's a reward, and on the other hand it's torture, right? That's what addiction is. But further to that, and more than just for that reason, these women are also having trouble setting boundaries within their lives in other areas of their life. So I thought it was very important today to talk to you about how to set really healthy boundaries when you're trying to pull away from your ex, but also when you're just dealing with normal life in any type of relationship. So we are totally brainwashed into thinking that we aren't complete unless we have a partner. And now I know this attitude is changing because we're doing this amazing work. As women, we're strong, we're independent. We don't need a man. We don't need to be in a partnership. However, we thrive in partnerships. So, and that doesn't mean just romantic partnerships. We need to be with people, and we need to be able to set healthy, strong boundaries. Because when we have healthy, strong boundaries, that is when we have and can experience trust, respect, and consideration. 3 things that we definitely need in a healthy relationship. So imagine yourself in a situation. Let's put the romantic relationship aside for now. But imagine you're in a situation where you're an owner, a business person, an entrepreneur, and you have to negotiate a particular contract or some sort of an arrangement. It's very clear, right? The boundaries with that type of transaction are super clear. You have a goal, you want a certain amount of product for a certain amount of money. There might be some negotiating opportunity in there, but before you go into that negotiation what your bottom line is, right? So you're going to go in with a certain strategy on how to get your bottom line, or you're gonna know when to stop if they're not meeting your needs, or they're not going to meet you halfway to create a transaction that's equal. So if you take that philosophy into your romantic relationship, and now of course there's so many gray areas in romantic relationships, but it's really, really important for you to understand what you want and what you want out of that relationship. Because if you're not feeling trust, if you're not getting respect, if you're not getting consideration, if they're not meeting you halfway and putting in the same amount of energy into the relationship that you are, then you're depleting yourself. And you're probably in a situation where you're just giving, giving, giving. You're the giver in the relationship, and they're probably the taker. And now this might seem romantically great on some level, but over time, this is going to deplete you. You are going to lose a sense of yourself because everything, you're gonna be spending so much energy thinking about their needs that you're going to forget about your own. And this might already make sense to you. You might have already been doing this in your relationship, so it might resonate really strongly with you. It's like this. If you can imagine that you are a bucket. We are a bucket. Every person is a bucket of energy, right? We have our energy. And if we keep giving our energy into somebody else's bucket who's probably has a low bucket, yeah, then you're giving and giving and giving to the point where you're so depleted, you're not going to have any energy or desire or self respect for yourself, right? So, not only do you have to create strong boundaries, but you have to be clear with what you want in that other person. So, if you're a person who thinks that your actions are going to actually make your partner healthy, happy, or you're somehow can't do something without your partner's approval, or there's this constant, we call it codependence, and you're familiar with that word. But the behavior around codependency is very much about thinking that your partner can't be happy without you, and vice versa. You can't be happy or you can't make decisions unless they are intrinsically in your space and actually living your life for you on some level. This is a bit of a mind fuck in the way that we see romance and what we've been taught, because we have been taught to think that we are incomplete. Not just the movie telling us. There is this um, a training that we've gone through in our lives to think that we aren't complete, especially as women, without a man in our life, which is total bullshit, and you know that now, right? So we want to start creating, what I call the higher feminine, where you know who you are and you are strong within your own boundaries. You have a good sense of self. You have a good sense of self-worth. This is what we're working towards, the higher feminine. And this means you have strong boundaries. So what do strong boundaries look like? So the women I'm talking with right now are trying to resolve emotions and heartbreak around a previous relationship, a divorce, long-term relationship, all of those things. And to pull away from that after years is tricky. But here's the thing, it's really not that tricky if you consider that person as a person on their own, right? Just like you would an acquaintance that perhaps crossed over some boundaries for you, weren't very nice to you, didn't treat you very nicely. It's very easy for you to cut that person off if they're not romantically connected to you, right? Well, you need to do the same thing. If this is a situation where you're trying to push away and trying to, regain your sense of self after a relationship, you need to see that partner, that ex-partner, as now just somebody who is a former relationship. You're not in that relationship now. So what that means is creating strong boundaries. That means stopping all communication, getting rid of their contact information in your phone so that he doesn't have access to you or she pop up. Stop following them on Facebook. Stop following them on social media. Do not communicate anything anymore. And now I know in certain situations this might be a little difficult if perhaps you have children together, or if you have property together you're still trying to resolve, and that's okay. So what you can do in those situations is create boundaries around your communication, meaning, for example, no more texting, emails only, so that you can take your time to respond to the email, right? You have time to sort of regroup, whether there's stuff that's still triggering you. You can take the time to kind of manage your emotions before you respond so that you can respond in an appropriate way. Remember, you're creating strong boundaries. And what does that look like within your own sense of self? So this is one of the exercises that I shared with you in the masterclass on Monday. One of the amazing things around containing and getting your energy back is understanding where your boundaries are. So boundaries look like, what are your non-negotiables? What will you not tolerate in a relationship? And this goes with all of your relationships. So you can do this with your friend relationships. You can do this with your family relationships. Creating an understanding for you and being in your integrity, and that means listing what will you not tolerate in the relationship, will help you understand your boundaries and will help you create those boundaries once you have that defining list. Okay? Otherwise, you're just going to sort of free float through, this push and pull kind of dynamic where you're just constantly depleting yourself, upsetting yourself every day by responding and getting triggered. This is where this is where we prolong our pain, we prolong our suffering, and we prolong our heartbreak. So for today, creating strong boundaries looks like you taking the time to make a list of all the things you will not tolerate in your relationships. And you can do that, like I said, do one for your romantic relationships, do one for your family relationships that you need to, do that for colleagues in your workplace, do that for your employer as well. Okay? You are perfectly within your rights to contain your energy and start rebuilding your life again. And remember, blocking communication to your ex or to that person who no longer honors you, who no longer considers you, who no longer respects you, is key to your salvation when you're going through heartbreak. So for today, healing tip number 4, create strong and healthy boundaries by understanding what you will not tolerate in your relationships. And then by blocking them energetically, communicationally, so that you have the time to regroup and get your energy back and fill up your bucket again so that you can start living the best life that you can possibly live. Okay? So thank you for joining me today for healing tip number 4. And I look forward to sharing the final tip for this week tomorrow, healing tip number 5. I'm still deciding which one that's going to be. But I'll see you tomorrow morning or whenever you get this video. Okay, have a wonderful day.